Today is going to be more yin. We're just going to be a couple active poses, but pretty much we're going to stick to, getting passive and really steeping and marinating in these stretches. And the reason I want to do more yin today is my theme or my inspiration for today's practice is a chant that we often hear in classes. And if you ever go to a Kundalini class, you're definitely going to hear this chant. And I think I'll sing it to you really quick. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. And it's Ong Namo Gurudev Namo. And you've probably heard it in my classes before. But it basically means I bow to the teacher within, and I bow to the supreme creative wisdom of all. So we sometimes translate it, I bow to the teacher within, I bow to the teacher without. Or you could even express it as I bow to the teacher within, I bow to God above. So there's different ways you can kind of look at that translation to make it more relatable and to make it resonate with you and your belief system. But when we say the word guru, the guru means the dispeller of darkness. And so if you think about it, there could be experiences that can help to dispel darkness. There could be people in your life that bring an enlightening moment through conversation that allows you to dispel some darkness. Now, this is a really silly example, but the other day, my son and I were sitting at the computer, and, this was the second attempt I had made on getting his passport. And nowadays, you can't just show up at the post office, right? You can't just do the paperwork there. They want you to do the paperwork from home. They want you to schedule an appointment. And there's only certain post offices that you can go to. Anyway, it's a process. And it took us a while to even figure out which post office to go to in relationship to where we live. Because I don't know Nashville as well as Franklin, And so we got all that figured out, and then we're trying to figure out, okay, which form do we fill out? Because he's had a passport before, but he's only 14. And he had to read all the fine print to figure out, okay, that one's not going to work. You need to do this one. And anyway, I was getting a little impatient. And he was sitting there just scrolling on his phone. And I'm like, now I want you to be with me, and I want you to do this with me. Put the phone away. But then there came a point where I needed some information from his dad. And I was like, call your dad. And he has the phone, but he's not contacting his dad. And I'm reading through it, and he is trying to help me. And I'm like, okay, call your dad. Okay, call your dad. And the fifth time, I raised my voice. And when I raised my voice, it took Gabriel back, and he was like, Mom, come on, take some deep breaths. So basically, he was mirroring to me what, I would do to him if he was getting impatient, which is perfect, right? It's perfect to have people like this around you. And I was like, okay, you're right. And in that moment, I was able to take some deep breaths. He was able to contact his father. And then we got exactly what we needed to get to continue the paperwork process. So yogis often say children are our greatest gifts, but I like to look at them as our greatest teachers. I will definitely always say one of my gurus is my son Gabriel. I do not look for a guru in the yoga lineages. I have known a lot of people that have used men as I'm saying men because most of them have been men, like guru teachers, not saying that there's not women out there doing it. But oftentimes, especially since the Me Too movement, we've seen these men kind of fall from their pedestal because after all, they are men. They're not a god. They're not someone to be worshipped. And sometimes, people get carried away with that. Even just as a regular yoga teacher, I feel like sometimes someone's pushing the boundary with me too much. I'm like, hey, I'm just a person. I'm just, you know, teaching this and still trying to apply it for myself. I'm not a master by any means. But what I want to share with you about that mantra, and while we're going through the yin practices, the yin helps us turn within. And when we drop into the heart, which is the indwelling place of the soul, we connect to our higher self. And when we connect to our higher self, that is the closest connection to God or source energy, because all the other stuff and personality and distractions are out of the way. And we can hear and lean into that whisperer God or our intuitive guidance. So that's what I want us to be kind of embodying through today's practice. So I'll meet you on the mat. I'm going to make sure everyone's muted here. Yes. Okay. We are actually going to begin standing. And I know that's not the usual stance for us to take at the beginning, but I want you to balance yourself equally on both legs and feet. Place your left hand over your heart, your right hand on top of that. Let your shoulders softly relax. The eyes can be open or closed. I want you to picture a landing line unraveling from your hips, moving down through the bones, through the soles of your feet, through the flooring and foundation of your building, into the soil, and down deep into the earth below. Same time you're rooting down, imagine that there's a rope coming up through the shaft of your spine, out through the crown of your head, and someone has the other end holding you up from the rooftop. But you feel this connection between the sky and earth. Conduit between the heavens and the earth. And sing that mantra one more time. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. And now we're going to bow to the teacher within. So we're going to take our hands to the hip crease. We're going to softly bend the knees. And then once we know we're hinging from the proper place instead of the waist, we're going to lower down into dangling pose. One of the mantras I like to play is from an artist called Snukun Kaur, and she comes from the Kundalini lineage. At the beginning of the song, she says, "Breath of life, I bow to you, and I'm coming home, and I'm coming home." So I want you to bow forward and down, come home to your breath, our link to the divine, our connection to source energy, a way to deepen the bond between the mind, the body, the spirit, connecting us to our higher self, the teacher within. With every exhalation, notice how you gravitate lower. With every in-breath, feel yourself ballooning your back lungs. Let go and unravel the neck. And
And try to move beyond sensation, even when it gets more intense. Some of her other lyrics say, "Oh, my beloved, kindness of the heart, I bow to you." Now we're going to clasp the elbows. And when you cross your arms, notice how you get heavier. You may have to bend the knees a little more. And if you want extra, you can pick up your sits bones a little more. Feel free, since you're at home, to do that audible out breath. Then reverse the crossing of the arms. Two more breaths. Let your hands descend, and we're going to inhale, step the left foot way, way, way back. And then we're going to lunge the front knee and sink the back knee to the floor. Now, I went ahead and had a blanket there. You're welcome to add in more padding. As you untuck the toes, you're going to drape the arm across your knee. You can have flat hands or rest on the back of the hands or fist. Just make sure your elbows are loosely bent. And then go ahead and bow your head down. Drop through your hips. Listen to the sound of your breath. Next inhale, gently lift the head up. We're going to heel toe the right foot over to the edge so that the right hand can come to the inside. Now, this is where you may want to be on the stilts of the arms. You may prefer fist. You may prefer bringing the blocks as a platform to rest the forearms on. You might be able to settle all the way down. Pick one. Hold and breathe. Now, if you want to peel the inside of the right foot off the sticky mat, if the knee wants to hang open, you can try that out. It's a low flying winged dragon. On your next in breath, let's slowly begin to back out of that deep stretch, sending your hips back and walking the right knee to join your left. All right, from here, we're gonna plant the palms, curl the toes, and take downward facing dog. This is one of our more active poses today. Namo, Gurudev Namo. Now to transition here, you can always drop to tabletop if it's challenging to step over your blanket. But if you can, step over it so the left foot is now coming to the front side of the mat. Make sure the knee pretty much aligns over the ankle, but it's okay in yin if it goes slightly past. It doesn't have to be precise. Sink the back knee, untuck the back toes. Remember, we're starting here, sinking the shoulder onto the knee, relaxing the elbows so the arms are no longer locked. And of course, bowing the head, going within. We're opening up the energetic meridian so that the currents are more abundant, less obstructed. The breath being the portal to bring more of that vital life force energy to us. Letting go of distractions that surround you. And that way you're looking, listening, and feeling what's happening on the inside. Sinking and surrendering this pose to this moment. Inhale, slowly lift the head. We'll heel toe that foot over to the edge. This time the left arm will come to the inside. Your choice of arms straight, forearms down, head down. And since we're talking about bowing to the teacher within, we're working on some forward folds today. Feel free to take a moment just to be in the question, what or who has been your guru? And can you be your own guru? If you want to wing the left knee away, you can fan it apart from your body. Next inhale, let's slowly begin to back out of this position. Take your time. Since we hold those positions a little longer, you're moving back to table. We're curling the toes and recreating downward facing dog. Next inhale, lift the heels high. Exhale, drop the knees back down to that support you're using. You're gonna press the hips back towards your heels. Your arms can outstretch, but I would recommend go ahead and sinking the elbows to the floor. Now, if your head doesn't want to quite come down, this is where you may want a pillow or a block or bolster under your forehead. We're stretching out the toes and the soles of the feet. This is a pose that's often used as prayer in the Middle East. In this pose, I like adding in the affirmation that our prayers for all of mankind to live in harmony and in peace. If this becomes too much for the feet, you can always take regular child's. So as you inhale, lift the head off the floor. Come forward onto the forearms and then untuck the toes and slide the legs and feet back behind you. So we're lifting into Sphinx. We're going to start actively. So the legs are shooting back. The belly's retracting away from the floor. The neck's elongating. And then we're going to separate the feet. And we'll loosen and wiggle the hips. Travel the elbows just a couple inches more ahead of where they were so that you allow the belly to just drop and loosen up, okay? So this is gonna be a little bit more of the mid-back. You're also going to allow the neck to shrivel and the head to lower. And then you're gonna lean the head to the right shoulder. You're leaning it and spilling down at the same time. Working with this muscle that usually gives us tension headaches. And then start to lean the head over to the left shoulder. Chin dropping towards the chest. So we can target the other side. Inhale, slowly lift the head back up. And this time we're going to walk the elbows ahead so that the ribs sink to the floor. Your hands are in prayer and you're stacking them at your brow. So I know we mentioned heart being the true intuitive center, but those messages come up to the prefrontal lobe of the brain. This stimulates the marmo point or the third eye. to work into the shoulders now. So bring the forearms down, one in front of the other, and we're going to slide the arms through, wiggling those fingertips away, and then spilling the head down on top. So the arms are really between the chin and the chest. You may notice there's a little bit more of a prominent stretch on one or the other side, which is why we lace the arms both ways. You're moving towards stillness, even though there's still some movement. Had a lady show up for restorative last night, and we did we did the same practice I did with you guys. We did the activity first, and then we went into restoration. And she was new, and she was so restless all through the restorative poses, just shaking her knee, wiggling around, just constant motion. You could tell she was just feeding all the thoughts in her mind, and she didn't know how to be still. She didn't have the training to quiet the mind. So applaud yourself for doing this work long enough to be able to do this. Bow to the teacher within. You have benefited, and that's why you continue the practice. And that's to be commended. We'll slowly slide the arms back in, crisscross the other way. So now the other arm's out in front. Slip and slide them through. And you may notice one side gets a little more stuck than the other. It's actually pretty normal. Notice if you're tensing your low back. Make sure the rest of the body is more relaxed. Notice it's not just the outseam of the arms getting the work, it's moving towards the shoulder blades. And then we'll slowly exit that position. Bring the hands under your chest and shoulders. Slide the feet closer together. Press up or roll up to table. You may want to stand your knees on top of that extra support. And we're going to drop back into child's pose.
This time we're on the top portions of the feet. I'm not going to stay here as long. All right, at a snail-like pace, gently roll towards the left side of your brow. Slow, snail-like pace, roll to the right side of the brow. Do that 2 more times. And back to center. Let your hands slide back, or if you need to come to tabletop, that's okay too. We're basically going to reposition ourselves so that we are extending the right leg and opening up the right knee and hip. We're going to move to half butterfly. As you inhale, let your arms fly up. And then as you exhale, you can round it down. This time, when your head is lowering, try not to overly reach the hands to the feet. Just let the arms more relax more beside you. And then your head can spill over again towards the right shoulder. And maybe sink the head down a little heavier so that it moves from the stretch to the neck to that pocket in between your shoulder blade and spine. This is where emotional distress can be deposited. So if you feel a surge or some kind of sharper sensation, we're just stretching out that fascia where the energy flows, where sometimes emotions get stagnant. Might be another good pose to take a cleansing breath. Keep the head bowed. Just turn your palms down. Walk your hands back and unfurl the spine, letting your head come up last. And if your head was really dropping below the heart, you might feel lightheaded. So take a moment. Let's lift the right knee. Take a hold of it with your left arm. Extend the spine more fully, stacking the right hand behind you. Turning the gaze over the back shoulder. We're going to work with the neck a little here as well. As you inhale, tilt the head back, tip the nose up,
And slowly roll the head around to the left shoulder. Inhale, do the same thing back. Exhale, unwind. Right leg straightens, the left knee bends, and then turns open. Arms reach up. Exhale, pour down. This time when you pour down, get your head heavier, 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 and rock it to the left. Doesn't have to go very far to the left, just long enough where you feel that pocket I was mentioning between the shoulder blade and the spine. Flip the palms down. Slowly begin to unroll. Head comes up last. And we need to take a moment there. Lift the left knee. Activate the right leg. Extend the spine and hug the knee in. And stack the left hand behind you. Inhale, turning the chin up. Circling the head around to the right shoulder. And then back up. And over to the left. And unwind. The feet are going to come together. This is going to be another more active stretch where the feet are closer to the body. They're fanning apart, lifting up through the crown, keeping the neck in line with the spine this time so you have a flatter back. You could even perhaps make this more restorative, bringing your bolster in to take under the brow. We did quite a bit of forward folding today. But we did mention the higher self has the home in the heart. So, how about you either take this pose where you're folding out over like a restorative fish, or perhaps the regular back bend where your neck stays in line with your spine for Shavasana today. I wish I could play the song for you guys. It just doesn't come across well with Zoom. I'll post it on Facebook later today in case you want to take a listen. For now, I will sing that one more time. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. I bow to the teacher within. I bow to the supreme creative wisdom of all. I'll be starting a new series soon based on the koshas. For now, all I will say is we want to drop from the surface layer, from the gross layer of the physical anatomy, down below the surface to try to reach the Atman, the spirit that dwells within, the true teacher. Deepen the flow of our breath. Bringing some movement to the hands and feet. Bending the knees. Rolling across to one side. And then building up for a seat. Let's take the hands over the heart like we did at the beginning. We walk away with the knowledge what a guru represents, that which dispels any darkness. When darkness is dispelled, it exposes more light. May we remember the true teacher is within. May we recognize the teachers who are on the outside. And bring in your hands to prayer position at your heart. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. May we walk away from this practice being free and at peace in our bodies, hearts, and minds. Namaste.